Hey, this is John Johnson reviewing the book Why Smart Kids Worry by Allison Edwards. Overall, very good book. I was a huge fan of the book. I also was a huge fan of the author's story. Former basketball player, has some anxiety and worry growing up as well. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. So step one, I personally translate anxiety as unorganized danger. For example, if someone's talking about security, home security, U.S. security, flat tire, et cetera, et cetera. It's just danger that is unorganized. That's the way I translate it. But the author, she translates anxiety as worry for kids. So instead of using anxiety when talking to your kids, use the word worry, and it'll make a lot more sense. And it makes a lot more sense when you're thinking about how their mind works as well. Worried. They could be worried about tests. They could be worried about competitions. They could be worried about quicksand or tornadoes. A lot of different things can make a child worry. I separate into two different types. You have either small worries, so worries that they can control, and bigger worries that they really can't control. Tests, competitions, things of that nature. There's many tactics the parent can be able to use to be able to help out with those. If they're worried about quicksand, tornadoes, death, those bigger things that are uncontrollable, you have to use different tactics for those that are a lot more, just different tactics for those. So into what the author speaks about, first part of the book is teaching you about how to understand your type of kid. The second part is about giving you some tips. So she puts the main way she wants to describe your kid is in different ways they are smart. So understand where your kid is intelligent at. So your kid could be smart mathematical. They could be smart linguistic with reading, interpersonal, which means, being able to converse with different people, music, visual, kinesthetic, which means like body, athletics, and some others. But if a kid has mathematical and linguistics smarts, this means that schoolwork is probably not going to be that big of a deal for them. They're not going to have too much worry about that unless they, they start thinking about college and things of that nature. Then worry can creep up. But, kindergarten, first, second, etc. If they have those basic skills, they're probably not going to worry too much about those, but they could potentially be worried about the playground and their interpersonal relationships with friends if their interpersonal is not as high. On the other end, if a kid is more interpersonal, they can be able to conversate, make friends easily, but they're not too good with the mathematical and linguistics, then they could worry a lot more about their schoolwork than they are with their actual friends. She recommends understanding what your kid is so you can know when they would have those triggers. My recommendation, teach your kid a baseline in all these different deficiencies. Like all these things you can teach your kids basics in, music, mathematics, linguistics, kinesthetics, etc. Teach them baselines so they're never at a 100% deficiency. They always feel that they have some sort of confidence in these certain types of things. But being deficient in one of the smarts can lead to small worries. But there are also the big worries, like I stated, that you can't really control too much. But big things to note from the book is that worry states are emotional states. Kids may act or speak destructively during these states, and they're unconsciously relieving tension. They'll ask you certain questions and say certain things, and it'll sound as if, they're trying to ask it, for actual answers. And then 5 minutes later, they'll ask you the same question again. 5 minutes later, they'll ask you the same question again. The author says that this kid is probably trying to relieve some sort of tension unconsciously. They don't know they're doing that, but the more they've done that, the more they've worked you up, the more they work themselves up, they'll actually feel better after they've relieved some of that tension. The author doesn't recommend that you argue with them and keep on doing those. She recommends some other tactics, which is a good thing. Another thing to note is the second part of the book, which deals with tips to help kids during worry and before worry. I highly recommend the tips that revolve around physical exercise in the morning time before they even get started. That really knocks off the edge that a kid may have in the beginning of the day. And then also organizing a kid's day, especially around those times that are not around school. So after school, summertime, school is pretty organized for the kid, but you as a parent making sure you organize those other times that they have, those extra 8 hours in the day that's not in school, or the full, 24 hours when a kid is during summertime, making sure those are organized. And she gives you tips and tricks on that and about 13 other ones. I highly recommend running away from the tips that do deal with rewarding kids. I've never found any benefit in rewarding kids while looking at, my family situation and also other families. But overall, very good book. I recommend this book to any parent out there, whether your kid is anxious or not anxious, or in her terminology, worried or not worried. Thanks.